Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the League One Transfer Roundup. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, can we try and hit 140 likes on today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts down in the comment section down below. How would you assess your club's transfer business so far, and what do you believe has been the best bit of business completed over the last 7 days? Now, AFC Wimbledon, they haven't brought anybody else in through the door over the last week, and they also haven't seen any further departures. In terms of Barnsley, they brought in 37-year-old forward David McGoldrick. He's come in on a free transfer from Notts County. I think when he joined the Magpies 2 years ago, everybody expected McGoldrick to retire with them, but with the direction their club is currently going in, and the apparent rumours that have come out about the insulting offer towards David McGoldrick that he was given this summer, there's no surprise that he turned that down and decided to move on. And also, having watched McGoldrick over the last 2 years quite consistently, being a Bradford City fan, him going back up into League One I don't think will surprise anybody. He is still more than good enough to be playing in the Championship. Even at 37, he is an absolutely outstanding footballer. Scored a screamer against Bradford City back in April, and I think it's a really good signing for Barnsley. Does play in that sort of Davies Keeler-Dunn position where he's not quite a striker, but he's also not really an attacking midfielder. So it'll be interesting to see how Barnsley do go about trying to operate them. Could they maybe go with a 3-4-2-1? I think it's unlikely. I think they'll probably play a 4-2-3-1, and then it's about how do you get the best out of both McGoldrick and Keeler-Dunn. Obviously at 37, I doubt he's going to be starting all 46 games. We know that he does have the odd injury every single season. You know, he's never going to be a player that plays 46 league games, but I do still believe it will be a really good signing for Barnsley. They haven't brought anybody else in through the door, and we also haven't seen any further transfer departures. In terms of Blackpool, they brought in a 24-year-old midfielder, Jordan Brown. He's come in for around £400,000 according to Transfermarkt from fellow League One side at Leyton Orient. Obviously a big blow for the O's, but that is a very significant transfer fee. I do think he's a really good player, is Jordan Brown. Obviously Blackpool are certainly spending the money this summer, whether it's in terms of transfer fees like Jordan Brown or Niall Ennis, or in terms of wages like Fraser Horsfall, Michael Ekwe, George Honeyman. Yeah, they're clearly going for it this summer, and obviously they did lose Sonny Carey as well, as we have spoken about many weeks ago now, but I must say I think Blackpool are certainly one of my favourites to make it into that top 6 as of right now. In terms of Bolton Wanderers, I don't think they've done any further transfer business. I'm pretty sure we have already covered all of their incomings and also their outgoings as well. My team Bradford City, we haven't done any further transfer business for quite a while now, obviously since we brought in Will Swan a couple of weeks ago. I think maybe around the 1st of July, something like that, maybe even a little bit earlier. Was it the 28th of June potentially? You know, it's been a long time since our last signing, and we know we're not going to bring any more in until after our pre-season abroad trip to Austria. We also haven't seen any further departures from the Bantams. In terms of Burton Albion, they brought in Toby Sibic, a 26-year-old centre-back from Wigan Athletic, on an undisclosed fee. I think that could prove to be a smart signing for the Brewers at 26 years of age. I think he's now coming into them prime years. I remember him from his Barnsley days where I think he was a right back. You'll have to let me know down below if I have got that one wrong, but I think that'll prove to be a smart signing for Burton, and I don't believe we have seen any further transfer departures as well. So we'll move on then to Cardiff City, who are still yet to bring anybody else in through the door, and they also haven't seen any further departures this week, unless we haven't already mentioned Dimitrios Goutas, a 31-year-old, I think it's Greek centre-back, who has gone over to Genkler Burgli. I think they're a Turkish team. He's gone there on a free transfer. That was a lot of names and pronunciations that were very hard to do. But Cardiff were now into the middle of July, and they've still not brought anybody at all in through the door, which is absolutely crazy. In terms of Doncaster Rovers, again, I don't believe they have done any further transfer business. Certainly not in terms of incomings, and I don't believe there has been any further outgoings as well. So move on then to Exeter City, who did bring in a player this week that was in the way of 21-year-old goalkeeper Joe Whitworth. He's come in on a loan transfer from Crystal Palace. I think I'm right in saying that he actually was on loan with the Grecians last campaign and proved to be one of the best goalkeepers in the entire division. Going into this season, I was a little bit concerned by Exeter, but some of their recruitment so far does look pretty positive, and I think if Whitworth stays fit and available, again, there's no reason why he can't absolutely smash it this season with Exeter. I don't believe they have seen any further departures as well. There's quite a few for me to just quickly scan through there, but no, We actually, Bradford City that is, had Yannick Wildschut on trial for the first 2 games of pre-season, scored the winner in our first game, but it's been confirmed that he won't be travelling to Austria with us, as I think he has signed for another club, but it's not officially been announced. But he looked a decent-ish League 2 player, I think, for a club that could maybe pick him up at 33, plenty of experience there. In terms of Huddersfield Town, they brought in a 28-year-old centre-back, Jack Whatmough. He's come in on an undisclosed fee from Preston, and again, another really good, smart signing from the Terriers. Unfortunately, as a Bradford City fan, it's really paining me to see how such good business that Huddersfield are doing. They're also apparently have agreed a deal with Lyndon Gooch as well. That hasn't officially been announced at the time of recording, but Jack Whatmough, really good signing, plenty of championship experience, and still only 28 years of age, so that is a really good signing once again. And I don't believe we have seen any further departures. Actually, we did, didn't we? It was Broady Spencer, a 21-year-old right back who has joined Oxford United for an undisclosed fee. That one is a bit of a blow for Huddersfield, in all honesty, but I think they expected the odd 1 or 2 departures. We've seen Sorba Thomas and now Broady Spencer. It was never going to be the perfect summer for Huddersfield. Yes, they've lost 2 pretty decent players, but you look at the quality that they've brought in through the door. Their squad on the whole is certainly a lot better. And I think for right here and now, in terms of defensive options, I know they play in different positions, but you'd rather have a Jack Whatmough than a Broady Spencer, in my personal opinion. Moving on then to Leyton Orient, they brought in a 25-year-old striker, Aaron Connelly. He's come in on a free transfer from Millwall. I remember 5 or 6 years ago, he was meant to be the next big thing at Brighton, but his career's just been going down and down and down. Multiple different loan spells to the Championship and a few permanent clubs in there as well, but it's just not he's not really found a home where he can kick on, and I think under Richie Wellens at Leyton Orient, that is certainly the place where I think Aaron Connelly could thrive. Still only 25 years of age as well, so I do think that'll prove to be a smart signing for the O's. They also brought in 26-year-old midfielder Tyreek Bacinson. He's come in on a undisclosed fee from Wycombe Wanderers. I think was only with Wycombe for a year or so, and again, Orient obviously needed some more options in there with the likes of Ethan Galbraith and Jordan Brown already departing. They also announced the return of Idris Elmazoui, 24-year-old central midfielder, has come in on an undisclosed fee from Oxford United. I think the O's had him in their League 2 title winning campaign, then their first season in League 1. I want to say he was on loan from Ipswich throughout that campaign. Didn't really get much football with Oxford last season, so it does make sense now to re-link up with Richie Wellens once again. And obviously we have mentioned the Jordan Brown departure. There hasn't been any further though from a Leyton Orient point of view. Lincoln City, they brought in a 23-year-old centre-back Riley Towler. He's come in on an undisclosed fee from Portsmouth. Never really got much of a run of games, especially last season in the Championship, where 34, whatever he is, year-old midfielder Marlon Pack was getting picked over him when Portsmouth were down to their bare bones. It was clear that John Mousinho just didn't really trust that Riley Towler, and I do think a move to Lincoln City is the perfect one for him. They've still not really done that much business. There's 2 centre-halves coming in through the door, considering the amount of players that they have let go. I think they certainly need creative sort of midfielder, maybe even another striker as well. I know they've got a fair few options at the top end of the pitch, but I just think they need a bit more going forward, going into next season. In terms of Luton Town, they were certainly very busy last week. I think they announced 3 signings at the same time. Firstly, 35-year-old striker Naki Wells has come in on a free transfer from Bristol City. Obviously, the homecoming to Valley Parade and back to Bradford City isn't going to happen on this occasion, and I don't think ever will now, because come the end of his contract with Luton, I think we'll be looking past players like Naki Wells, in all honesty. Yes, he's 35 years of age, but going to double figures, I believe, last season in the Championship for a team which finished in the playoffs. I think this is a really good signing for Luton, and for what they want next season, I think Naki Wells will do better in League 1 than what Carlton Morris would have done. Obviously, they've got their Premier League parachute payments, they've got the money. He'll probably be on about 15 grand a week in League 1, which is absolutely ridiculous, but they've got the money, so you certainly can't complain about it. So I do wish him all the best at Luton, apart from obviously when he plays against us. They also brought in Hakeem Adoffin, a 27-year-old central midfielder from Rotherham, on a free transfer. Done very well there last campaign, and I do think that is again another really good pickup for Luton. 27 years of age as well. You look at some of their signings, has obviously brought in a lot of experience in Saville at 32, Naismith at 33, Wells at 35. So Adoffin coming in at 27, I do think is a good pickup. And they also brought in Nigel Lonwick, a 22-year-old centre-back on loan from Wolves. Again, bringing that average age of the squad down, and also a very, very good player for the level as well. I think all three of them are really, really good signings. They did see the departure of 28-year-old centre-back Reese Burke. He's made a step back up into the Championship with Charlton Athletic. That's 3 Luton players who have signed for Charlton in this transfer window. Obviously, has massively struggled with injuries over the last couple of seasons, but I do think, again, will be a smart pickup for Charlton when he's fit, when he's available, can do a job as a centre-half or even as a right-back as well. And we go back, about 10, 11 years ago now, when obviously he won Bradford City's, I think, Player of the Year, or maybe Young Player of the Year award, and obviously since then he's only gone on to do very, very good things. I think he's even played in the Premier League as well. In terms of Mansfield Town, they haven't done any further transfer business, whether incomings or outgoings, so we'll move on then to Northampton Town, who have brought in 21-year-old right-back Joe Warmittton. He's come in on a free transfer from Leicester's under-21s. Can't really say I know anything about him, in all honesty, and I don't believe they've brought anybody else in through the door. Northampton have certainly been very busy in this transfer window so far, and we haven't seen any further departures from the Cobblers. In terms of Peterborough United, they haven't brought anybody else in through the door, but they've certainly spent a lot of money so far. You're looking at around maybe £2.5 million in terms of transfer fees spent, but you look at the money that they've probably got in from the likes of Manny Fernandez, Kwame Poku, and that's actually about it. Oh, Malik Mothersill as well. You know, they've got probably about £5 million, so they're certainly making the profit. They've still got more signings to come in through the door, you would hope and certainly expect as well. So we'll move on then to Plymouth Argyle, who I don't believe have done too much transfer business. They have brought in 21-year-old central midfielder Aman Benerus. He's come in on a free transfer from Bristol City. Again, don't really know too much about him, but obviously at 21 might be one a little bit more for the future rather than the here and now, but he'll obviously be hoping to make a stamp and put his authority on that Plymouth Argyle side. And in terms of departures out of home park, I want to say we've not seen that much business. Ramy Awodi, a 23-year-old attacking midfielder, has joined Silkeborg IF for an undisclosed fee. Can't say I really know too much about him, but I don't believe his time at Plymouth really did work out. They've done a lot of transfer business in terms of incomings and outgoings, but no further business as of right now. In terms of Port Vale, they haven't brought anybody else in through the door, and they've also not seen any further departures as well. So move on then to Reading, who have brought in a couple of deals. They've brought in 20-year-old striker Mark O'Mahoney, not Mark O'Mahoney, Mark O-Mahoney. He's come in on loan from Brighton. I want to say spent last season on loan with Portsmouth and scored the odd goal here or there, but I think a move to League One is a perfect move for him. You know, still only 20 years of age, there's still plenty of time for him to grow and develop. And they also brought in Finley Burns, a 22-year-old centre-back on loan from Man City's under-21s. Again, I think that would be a really good signing. Obviously, if you're on Man City's books still at 22 years of age, you must have a little bit of something about you, so I do think that'll prove to be a smart addition for Reading. Rotherham United still haven't brought anybody else in through the door. I'm absolutely baffled by what they're trying to achieve this summer, in all honesty. They've brought in Ted Can and Kean Spence, but that's about it. They need a lot more if they want to kick on, because as of right now, they are one of my relegation favourites. Looking at the quality of player that they have lost, and only the 2 signings coming in through the door. Millers fans, let me know down below, are you a little bit concerned going into next season? Obviously, we knew last week that Johnson Clark-Harris had terminated his contract with Rotherham. He's actually gone over to Turkey with Malik Wilks. I was going to say Malik Mothersill. Malik Wilks, obviously now 30 years of age, but they've both signed for Pendikspor. He's obviously gone there now on a free transfer. In terms of Stevenage FC, they've brought in Jasper Pattenden, a 23-year-old right back from Wycombe Wanderers, for an undisclosed fee. Again, I can't say I know too much about him in all honesty, but Stevenage are certainly looking to bring in them younger players in this transfer window. And they also brought in a 27-year-old winger Beslu Bala. He's come in on a free transfer from Wycombe Wanderers, so double swoop from Wycombe to Stevenage over the past week or so, and they haven't seen any further departures. In terms of Stockport County, they haven't brought anybody else in through the door, and I don't believe they've seen any further departures as well. We have already covered all of their business. Wigan Athletic, they haven't brought anybody else in through the door either, and they also haven't seen any further departures. Obviously, we did mention Toby Sibic earlier on in today's video. He has obviously joined fellow League One side Burton Albion. And finally, in terms of Wycombe Wanderers, it's hard to keep up because they've signed so many players, and there's some coming in from foreign leagues, and they're not necessarily names that you would recognise off the top of your head, but they haven't brought anybody else in through the door at the time of recording, and I don't believe we've seen any further departures as well. Obviously, we have mentioned a couple in today's video, the likes of Jasper Pettenden joining Stevenage, the likes of Tyreek Bacinson joining Leyton Orient, but that does conclude all of the League One transfer business completed over the last 7 days. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, can we try and hit 140 likes as I mentioned at the start of today's video, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. What do you believe has been the best piece of business completed over the last 7 days? For me, it's Naki Wells to Luton Town, but how would you assess your club's transfer business so far? Thank you all for watching, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one.